Hey guys, it's a beautiful sunny day today, so thought I'd switch up the scenery a little bit. But I'm going to talk about something that I already did a video on. It's called Your Life is a Script, but I'd like to take a little bit of a deeper dive into it today. I already just did a decode on my own life, found some more connections about things that you just don't even think to question at the time because they seem so unrelated. But the truth, in my opinion, is always in the numbers. The numbers are representative of energy, and when you see certain specific numbers just aligning, right, connecting to each other, just like with angel numbers, right, to the common disbeliever, let's say, these numbers are simply a coincidence, right? But to someone that is more perceptive, they see this synchronistic alignment, right? They see that, hey, how many times could it really happen like this specifically, and how many, the possibility of it even happening where you see multiple angel numbers, consecutively, right, one after the other, like immediately. How possible is that? And on top of that, when there's even a message behind them, that has specifically to do with what you were just thinking about, or what you were worrying about, or you have been worrying about, what you're dealing with in life, right? So these are messages, right? And then now when you take certain people's names, or the location of places, or other things with numerological energies behind them, and you break them down into these numbers, right, through various ciphers, of course. For example, English has its own cipher, which can then be connected back to Latin, and Jewish, which can then be connected back to English Sumerian and Chaldean and all of those, because these are the most ancient languages from which our modern languages come, and each cipher kind of assigned a number based on the language they were using, right? And when you're thinking that the word comes from that language, comes from then a number, then you can start tracing all the way back. That's why I think Chaldean is the most accurate, because it uses our alphabet, and it broke it down very simply in the numbers 1 through 8, because they did not use 9. They treated 9 as a holy number. So in that case, that being said, I want you to sit down and really analyze important relationships in your life, important events, situations, career paths, names, decisions you've made. Take those words or whatever numbers were applied. Take your name, for example, and see how it applies to other people. See if there are any connections, because these are the storylines that are made to play out. Now, getting into storylines will lead me to my next point. In the show Westworld, for example, there are these characters that have stories, right? They're NPCs, in a sense, that are living in this simulation world. It really looks just like ours, right? Just like a normal world, but it's designed for these billionaires to go in and play the game, right? Just like we come down here to play the game, in a sense. It's like a virtual reality, but very real, right? When you're in the reality itself, it's very real. Just like a video game character that's in the virtual reality thinks it's a real, life, real experience. And, it is. It's very debatable. But who really created those storylines, right? Wasn't them. It wasn't the actual characters. They weren't making their own informed decisions. They're living out a code, right? So that's where this idea of fate comes in. We think that, oh, these things happen naturally to us. It's fate. We're aligning with our higher path. Well, hold on, because fate will have it that you run into this specific person over and over and over again, yet it's causing you havoc. It's causing you chaos. Fate will have it that you end up in, a cubicle or something, some kind of job, because that was part of your code, in a sense, right? Just imagine sitting down and coding your own life and entering all these names, all these locations, all these choices, and then you living it out, in a sense, as in, oh, that's just fate. Right? I'm not saying to rebel against your fate. I'm saying to become aware of the storyline of the story. And that's, in a sense, what these characters in Westworld did. And I will release potentially that decode I was talking about, Westworld. My connections aren't as clear, as numerologically, in your face as some of my other connections. But in the show, they are connected through stories. For example, one of the characters is designed to be naturally saved by this man who always encounters her, right? And they're kind of fated to be together, right? Whereas it's just a storyline, there's nothing really behind that. They're all given a sort of cornerstone, which is basically a traumatic-based event that is keeping them attached and tied to the world, right? That's their purpose for existence, that pain that they go through. So not to spoil too much, but in the show, it's pretty obvious, but they end up actually waking up, right? The NPCs, they develop a conscience, or they become conscious. And they naturally rebel because they realize, oh, I wasn't the one making the choices. I didn't really have a choice to begin with. Everything was orchestrated from down to the words that I commonly say, the phrases I use. And that's a big shakeup, right? They feel this disconnect all of a sudden. And the question arises, really, who are they? And who are the gods, right? Who are the people managing, or beings managing this existence? What is the purpose of this existence? Because once you realize your choices were never your own, then you start to question your decisions. You start to question everything that's happened to you in life, and whether it was for your benefit or not, right? So in a sense, that's what I'm kind of asking everyone to do. I guess that's what I've been doing. These events that seem to line up harmoniously, which I still allow to happen in my life, because I still believe in the natural path, the path of least resistance, in a sense. But I question it. I put more of an awareness into it, asking myself, hey, how good of a path is this for me? Do I really have a choice here? Am I really making an honest decision based on how I feel about it, right? And at the end of the day, there is no I, right? There's no experience of separation, really. It's an illusion. But that does not mean that since the pain you may feel is an illusion, that you need to necessarily experience it. Because let's take, for example, that, or as a hypothesis, that yes, this game this place is a virtual reality game, right? We entered here to have an experience, to play the game. Yet at some point, the game was taken over, hostage. It was hijacked. And now imagine some other being having full control of your code, right? Is now using you how they see fit. So that's where the awareness comes in, where the true awakening comes in, that, okay, yeah, I'm not the doer specifically of my actions, but what really happened here? How is this game trying to play out? Is there a purpose behind these actions? Is there some sort of energy loosh happening where I'm being used, not for my own benefit, but for this being's benefit? And you may insinuate that I'm talking about the demiurge, right? The shadow being that doesn't necessarily have its own essence and needs to steal it from others to create a transfer, to facilitate its immortality, right? And that's where we have this dynamic of black and white, this duality, because it's a never-ending loop. It's an immortal or infinite loop that just keeps playing itself out over and over again. And of course, they wouldn't want you to know something like this because it's your energy, right? No one wants to waste their energy unless, you know, they willingly become conscious to it. And they have a name for those types of people, which I've seen it defined as Satanism, right? Where you become consciously aligned with the darkness, in a sense, where you're okay with stealing other people's energy, you're stealing other people's values, and, you know, things like that. But yeah, that's, if you do want me to look at your script, to decode your script, like I said, I use numerology, astrology, things like gematria. When I say numerology, I refer to like the actual charting of your numbers. It's a practice called Vedic numerology, like I showed in my previous video. Whereas the numerology gematria aspect is taking events, names in your life and turning those into numbers, and then taking and seeing if they all fit together, if they're all connected in a sense through the numbers, right? That's how you expose the script. Yeah, so something to think about, right? It's, again, this notion of free will and fate. Are there certain quantities of it present, right? Is it more so fate, more so free will? In my opinion, it's more so script, right? Which is fate, how they've told us. But again, we want to align with the source fate, right? The source guidance, the all-loving, all-wise script, in a sense, not the script where we're being used against each other, right? Kind of like they do to us in the real world here, in the 3D world, through wars, right? Those things are scripted, again, for the purpose of energy harvest. And they always say this, as above, so below, right? It's a thing that functions in this reality, this looped reality. Whatever happens, whatever they do up there to rearrange the code, happens here, right? They base it on each other. As above, so below isn't, in my opinion, a harmonious thing necessarily. It's what simply is part of this reality. So I'll end it there. Leave a comment, like, subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I'd like to know your thoughts. So yeah, comment below. But cool. Have a great day.